With Japan finally opening up again, I was once again able to go to a magical event called Komiket, sometimes also called Komike or Comic Market in full. A place that is filled to the brim with all kinds of Dojin things and stuff that probably wouldn't just demonetize my channel, but wipe it from the face of the planet. So let's talk about the Gundam things that I bought there, shall we? And let's start by getting rid of some misconceptions. You can, in fact, find some very wholesome stuff at Komiket, and it's not just Dojin comics either, because on the top of my hit list were these two beautiful acrylic stands from Gundam X. Not only are they absolutely adorable, but I think they will also go very well with my Gundam X Gunpla. And as I just showed you, I also grabbed this manga while I was at it. But unfortunately, you can't always get everything you want at Komiket, even if it's one of the first booths you go to. By the time I was able to get to the booth of one of the most popular Tanuki Soleta artists, they were sold out, with the final book literally being sold right in front of my eyes. But hey, they did at least still have flyers. So let's go over the other Witch from Mercury stuff that I got, because of course a lot of the stuff you're going to find at Komiket is related to the latest stuff that is going on. So yes, there was quite a bit of Witch from Mercury stuff, and of that Witch from Mercury stuff, there was a lot of Tanuki Suleta stuff going around. And like I said, you can find a lot of really adorable stuff. I love also the shine that this Dojin has. And we're continuing the cute stuff with this one. Or this one where Suleta somehow gets her hands on a permanent marker and starts drawing on everyone, because why not? And then this one with Gigi Andalusia also has a really fancy cover. I don't know if it's really going to catch on camera, but it has kind of a satin finish and also has some Witch from Mercury on the inside. But it wasn't all Suleta and Miorine. We also had this thing. Now, this is a really cool book. If you're a fan of the Ariel, tracking this down is definitely recommended, because as you can see on the back, it has the Ariel drawn by a bunch of different artists in a bunch of different ways, and even some, unique takes on the design. This thing is really cool to just go through and look at the different designs and the different interpretations of the characters. Now, when I bought this thing, The Passion of Gyul Turk, I thought it was going to be more similar to this one, but it is actually a Dojin retelling of, a very famous scene of the anime. Just by looking at the first page, I'm pretty sure you know where this is gonna go. And, gotta love the evil-looking Gyul here. Although, I recently watched the first episode of the English dub, and apparently they're going with Guel instead of Gyul. I'm gonna have to get used to calling Gyul Guel now. And then another thing you will often find at Komike are these matome books. Basically, literally translates to summary. And in these books, they will kind of summarize all of the popular things of the past year, and therefore also like the popular things you will find at Komike. One of the big new games, we have Nikkei, but of course we also have Witch from Mercury, Spy X Family, Uma Musume, Princess Connect, Kaguya-sama Love is War, Wixos, however you pronounce that, and many other things. And yes, I totally knew all of that, and I definitely was not reading that off the Japanese. That is right there. So those are really fun books, especially like to look back at them, because they give you a very good overview of what was popular at the time. Or maybe you want to go to Komike to go back in time, because not only will you find stuff about the latest and the greatest anime at Komiket, but you will also find a lot of nostalgic stuff. And when I saw Mecha Senda 90s Robot Anime Special, I mean, how could I not pick this up? Especially since it had Gasaraki on the front, a series that I recently got into. And yeah, it is basically what it says on the cover. It has a lot of stuff and like little articles about all kinds of different anime, mech anime from the 90s. So this one was Orgus, if I'm not mistaken. We've got some Stardust Memories, some F91, and other really cool stuff. Again, something that I really like to get at Comiket. But another really cool thing that I love to get at Comiket, but for a completely different reason, are these kinds of copybooks. Now, when you look at stuff like, for example, the Mecha Sanda here, or this Witch from Mercury stuff, that's the kind of stuff you will find outside of Comiket. If you go to a website like Toranoana, Melon Books, or Mandarake, you will find that stuff relatively easily, especially if it's still new. But these kinds of copybooks, I mean, I think it was this one that literally said that it was printed at a convenience store. Maybe it was the other one. But yeah, these kinds of things, they're super cheap. I think they went for like 100, 200 yen each, $1, $1.50 approximately. But there is definitely something about these that has a lot of heart in them. And this kind of stuff just screams indie fan magazine. Oh, and this was the one that said, yeah, the publisher is the convenience copy machine and print machine, basically. So let's go to something that looks a bit more professional then. Project GATX, Fujiksa Entertainment. And this was one that was also on the top of my hit list. I've previously bought their Zaftic Front, which was a great name for a book all about the Djinns. And that was such a cool thing that when I saw they were again selling some books at Comiket, that I had to get this one. And it is all about the various GAT machines. And just like the Ariel book, this is another kind of compilation thing where every picture is drawn by a different artist. Here you have all of them nicely listed at the back of the book. And so yeah, this is another beautiful thing to watch through. Not only do you get a bunch of different artists, but also just the layout. Even though this is a doujin, this feels extremely professional. But again, unfortunately, they also put out a Windham book. I think that one was also just a copy book, just like these things, but looking slightly more professional. But unfortunately, they were all sold out. I really wanted that because like the Windham is one of my more favorite underrated mobile suits that don't really get a lot of love on screen, but are actually supposed to be really good mobile suits. And talking about doujin that look really professional, the Advance of Zeta Report, Advance of Zeta fanbook. Now, if you told me, again, that this was a professional book, I would have totally believed you. This is just amazing. Like, when I saw this, I just knew I had to get it because it was Advance of Zeta. But then when I went through it, I was mighty impressed by how awesome this looks, the presentation, the art inside of it. Like, I'm actually still not convinced that this is entirely a doujin because this just matches up to the official art so well. I'm, like, legit gonna have to confirm that all of this is fan art because, yeah, it just looks too good. And let's take a little break from the doujin books and have a look at a doujin game. Or, well, to be specific, 3 games, with one of them being Witch from Mercury related. Mobile Princess Comiket 101. So on the back, we have the 3 games that are on here, being a Licorice Recall shooter game, a Tamagotchi game, so Bocce the Rock in combination with Tamagotchi, and Witch from Mercury. And then the 4th program that's on here is a Girls und Panzer calendar. But that one doesn't work really well due to my computer not being in Japanese, because first, it just didn't start because my date and time had to be in Japanese format. And even then, it still didn't display all the Japanese properly, even though I had my non-Unicode set to Japanese, which normally normally that works with every other Japanese game, but apparently this one just, didn't play nice with that. So I guess you need a Japanese Windows installation period for that program to completely function. It was just displaying some Japanese text as garbled up text things. But the other 3 games, they do work perfectly. Unfortunately, there is no sound and they do play a little bit choppy, but they are very charming. The Tamagotchi game is basically exactly what it says on the tin. It's a Tamagotchi-styled bocce the Rock game where you take care of your own bocce. The Licorice Recall game is actually my favorite of the 3, and is like a side-scrolling shooter game where you get attacked by penguins from both sides, and it is surprisingly difficult and therefore also really fun to play through. In the Witch from Mercury game then, if you're wondering why the graphics look the way they do, this is actually based on a very old Gundam computer game. I think it was actually the first Gundam computer game. I think it was called The Last Shooting for the MSX. And the aerial is recreated in the style of the RX-78 from the game. And in this game, you play as Suletta trying to collect 10 tomatoes to get into the aerial. And the title of the game is also a reference to the anime, Save to Board Aerial. And I am thinking about making a more complete video about that game. Maybe something for the future. Moving on then with some more Dojins, and these 3 are from Alice Systems. Now, I really like these. I have a bunch of them. I think I have most of them, and this is the only the only Dojin of the collection so far that I will have to give a slight content warning for, because not for these ones, but for some of the other books of Alice Systems, what I've noticed is that there will be one page where there is actually 18+ content, like randomly in the book. And that's really one of the funniest things about these, because for almost the entire book, it's just like information and like technical drawings about the mobile suits, all done in a Kotoki style that I absolutely love. And then when you're going through them, randomly there'll be like one 18+ image in there. It's just so funny. But yeah, I love these for seeing all kinds of different mobile suits being redone in the Kotoki style, especially perfect example here, like the Gym Command Space type, a machine that isn't Kotoki style but now redrawn in Kotoki style to kind of give the mobile suits a more uniform feel. And talking about books with a lot of information, this is a series that I've seen quite a while. I said before that you can easily find like Dojins in Mandarake or like Melon Books or Torano Ana. This is a book, well, this series of books is something that I have seen a lot in those. So I'm going to assume that this is actually a really popular series. It has a lot of information about different kinds of ships and then some very technical drawings about them. So when I went to Comiket this year, I decided that I was finally going to pick one of these up. I just kind of wanted to have one in the collection. And another really cool thing that I saw that was on my hit list was this one from Maddox. Last year, I built a Maddox model kit. Review should be coming sometime this year. We'll see when it comes out. But what I was really surprised by, well, 2 things that I was really surprised by were, 1, the detailing on these drawings is amazing. Like the technical stuff, like, wow. I was mighty impressed by that. I was expecting these to be good, but like this really caught me off guard just by how good it is. And the other thing that surprised me is that it technically qualifies for the subject of this video. I think I went by it already. By having, there we go, by having some very nice Gundam drawings in there. I mean, it feels a bit Thunderbolty, but more towards the standard mainline Universal Century. It's like an in-between. But yeah, very cool. Also, the Votoms art in here is really, really nice. And then this one is one that I bought with that one, but this only has Maddox in it. So let's move on to the next Gundam book we got, and this is the final Gundam Dojin. Well, the final Dojin that I bought. We'll get into that in a second. This one isn't anything too special, especially not coming from the Maddox books, but the style was nice and cute, and I did find it, like, I find the cover of this one really amusing, like the Freedom Gundam just giving a punch. So now let's get to that final Dojin that, I mean, it is a Dojin, but also like not really a Dojin, because my last Dojin is the very famous and apparently like really hard to find and expensive Mobile Suit Gundam Fan Club Char's Counterattack. This Dojin I think was now like officially republished, so I don't know if we can still call this like a Dojin book after you get an official republication that was even posted about on the official Gundam.info channels. But yeah, this thing got so popular and so expensive that it definitely warranted a reprint. One of the big reasons being that one of the people who worked on this was Hideaki Anno, the guy from Evangelion. So yeah, you can see why this would become so sought after, and it does also have some funny Char's Counterattack cartoons, and also some really awesome Char's Counterattack art. Like, this Gyaradoga is looking really nice. There was a really cool new Gundam in the front while that airplane flies over. There we go, and at the back there was another really odd... yeah, let's not get too deep into that and move on to the thing that I wanted to show. Where did it go? Oh, there we go. It was all the way at the back. There we go. Now that is a very nice looking Amuro. And now I can already hear you thinking, Kakarot, surely that wasn't everything you bought at Comiket. Damn straight. I also bought Girls und Labor. Now, I saw this at the first Comiket I think that I went to a couple of years ago, but back then I didn't buy because I hadn't watched Girls und Panzer yet, and I was like, there's so much stuff to buy here. I'll buy that if I ever get around to watching Girls und Panzer and if they're still selling it. And, well, the fact that I have this book now should answer all of those questions. And also, I just kind of want to see this concept done with Gundam. Like, I know there's like Girls und Gundam fan art out there, but not an actual manga, because this isn't just like an art book, this is actually a full-on Dojin series. So yeah, that has been all for the Gundam related stuff that I got at Comiket. And I will say, I didn't keep complete track of how much each thing cost, and also, you know, because of the nature of them being Dojins, it's kind of difficult to go back and track how much the things exactly cost. But to give you an idea of the cost of these books, like the smaller ones, like this, they'll typically go for 500-ish yen. The bigger ones go for like 1,000-ish yen, which is like $4 for the small ones, $8 for the bigger ones. And the Char one, that one was actually the most expensive of the bunch because, again, it's not really a Dojin anymore. And if I remember correctly, this thing went for like 3,000 yen, which is like $25 or something. But yeah, all things combined, I did spend around 100, a little above that, dollars on these Dojins. So yeah, that has been all for this Gundam Dojin video. I wasn't joking when I wrote that in my Gachapon video. As always, a big thank you to the Patreon supporters. I hope everyone watching has a great day and doesn't fall for too many April Fool's jokes, and I'll see you all next time.